Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today I'm going to be showing you the deck list for my Regirock deck. Now, a couple of things I need to say beforehand, but I will be very quick, so I want to get straight in, show you this list, and get on out of here. I don't want to waste your time, ladies and gentlemen. I consider everyone that spends time watching my channel to be a lovely person. I'm sure you're also very important people, and you have stuff to do, so let's explain this. Nice and easy, get on out of here. There are two videos which I think make good preparation for this. Firstly, although I haven't given you a list of this before, I have given you a Regirock video which explains all about the deck. A link to that is in the description. Similarly, this is just a deck list video. I'm not giving you a game at the end of it, partly because I don't have the cards to make this on PTCGO. Fun fact, in the UK it is now impossible to get these cards because if you didn't buy... You had to buy these on PTCGO using coins. You'd buy the free boosters and a Regirock promo. You had to buy them at the time when they were out. If you bought them at the time, they're untradeable. So even though people want to, they can't trade them to me. I asked, people offered, very nice. And you can't get them anymore. So it is impossible to get them. But I did record a video of me playing this at an actual regional championship against a world's competitor, and that's much better than any video you would get on PTCGO. Again, a link to that is in the description. So, the other thing I need to say is a huge thank you to Joe Bernard of Omnipoke, very good friend of mine. This is his list. Now, we talked about it, we made a few changes together, but make no mistake about it, the principal idea and the basic list is all Joe's, and I believe he has actually done a video explaining this as well. But I've had a lot of people ask me for the list. Clearly, people have made it clear they want a video on this, so here we go. Pokemon, it's very, very simple. We have 4 Regirock, because Regirock is the main attacker in this deck. He's got 110 HP, which is very underwhelming, and he is weak to grass, which is not a huge problem. We'll get there in a minute. And for 4 energy, he does 80 damage. If you can flip a heads, it goes up to 120. This is fine, but the key for Regirock is this Omega Barrier Ancient trait and the fact that he is a fighting Pokemon. This means he cannot be hurt or affected by any trainer cards. Now, this does have some ancillary uses. The two I'll mention are you cannot, or your opponent cannot use Lysander to bring him in the active, and he is not vulnerable to Hypnotoxic Laser. But the main reason is we are comboing Regirock with Focus Sash. Regirock is a fighting Pokemon. You put Focus Sash on. If he would be one-hit KO'd, taken from full health down to 0 health, you put him on 10 health instead and discard Focus Sash. What Omega Barrier does means that if your opponent wanted to play something like a Tool Scrapper or a Startling Megaphone or a Zerosic to get rid of the the Focus Sash, or indeed a Hypnotoxic Laser to poison you to get rid of it, they are unable to do so. The only other Pokemon we want to play in this deck is for Wobbuffet. Now, Regirock sits on the bench, he can't be Lysandered active, so that means you can keep him on the bench while you manually attach 4 energy. This is very useful, but it's also very slow. We need some Pokemon to stick in the active while we're doing this, and Wobbuffet will do, because when he's in the active, he turns off your opponent's abilities. This turns off cards like Shaman EX, so that you are not in a position, or your opponent isn't in a position to get set up properly. It really helps you get set up, because as slow as you're setting up, your opponent hopefully will set up just as slowly. And he only blocks abilities when he's in the active. Usually your opponent would just play a Lysander to get him out of the active. Pull something active, Wobbuffet's no longer in the active, Trainer Lock goes away. Yeah, you can't do that if all I've got on the bench is Regirock. It's also not really a Pokemon, but we play 4 of the Robo Substitute trainer card in this deck. He's a trainer card, but as soon as he's on the bench, he counts as a Pokemon. And the reason for this is, it just buys you a turn. Your opponent KOs Robo-Sub, you don't lose a prize, and it's just one more turn to get set up. Regirock, ladies and gentlemen, is slow. It is 4 manual attachment, and you've got to essentially slow your opponent down. And this is how you do it. Robo-Sub and Wobbuffet. Your opponent could be turn 6, turn 7, and all they've KO'd is 1 or 2 Wobbuffets. If you lose 2 Regirock, you've probably lost the game. So you can basically afford to have your opponent KO all 4 Wobbuffet and all 4 Robosub, and you can still be in a pretty good position. In terms of energy, we are playing 6 basic and 4 strong. You've got to play 4 strong because it's amazing. Also, because of Regirock's Omega Barrier, cards like Enhanced Hammer and Zerosic that would usually get rid of strong energy cannot get rid of strong energy, so it's much less risky. 10 energy, I've done a whole bunch of testing. It's not perfect. I'd like more energy, but we'd always like extra cards in these decks. It is the compromise that I have found. Now, one common question I've had about this list: why no Max Elixir? Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, find the basic energy attached to one of your benched basic Pokemon. In theory, I get the idea, I understand the question. Regirock is a slow basic Pokemon. We want to get more energy on him as fast as possible. Why would we not do this? And the answer is very, very simple. You're only playing 6 basic energy. You are not going to hit heads often enough. That's just the way it is. So that's the basics of the deck. Now, this video is not really explaining the deck. I've made a video explaining the deck. This is a video giving you the list with a few omissions here and there to answer a few questions. So let's go through the trainers. For Corinna is amazing in this deck. Firstly, you need to search out your Regirocks nice and quickly. You need a Regirock and an energy turn 1. You need a turn 4 energy Regirock. Now, you can slow the game down enough. That is a possibility, but you need to get going as fast as possible here. Corinna helps you get Regirock, and she also allows you to search for an item card. And as we'll see, there's a lot of useful item cards, like Focus Sash, for instance, that you're going to need in this deck. To Professor Sycamore, we need some good draw cards. We play 2N, we play 2 Sycamore. Sometimes Corinna will not get you enough cards. N and Sycamore will allow you to get more cards. This is also a deck where you will fall behind in almost every single game. Let your opponent KO 3 Wobbuffets and then play an N. Your opponent goes down to 3 cards while you remain at 6, and that is immensely useful. To Stephen, now I'm not happy with Stephen. This is the list I played at Cornwall Regionals, and to be perfectly honest, Stephen, I used it like once to search for a supporter. Now, it gets you an energy and a supporter, and the theory is you search for an energy and the other Stephen. So you're guaranteed 2 turns of energy, and then with a second Stephen, you go ahead and search an energy and something like a Juniper to keep going to help you set up. Honestly, I didn't use it often enough, and if I played this deck again, I would cut the Stephen for a 4th Tropical Beach. Maybe I'd keep 1, maybe not. To Lysander, because Lysander is amazing. Lysander is a brilliant card, and you need 2 of them. You need to be able to grab Pokemon off the bench. Regirock is really good at KOing fighting weak Pokemon like Jolteon EX and weak EXs like Shaymin. You need Lysander to bring him into the active. In terms of the one-off supporters we play, they're all healing. Now, you might notice, the eagle-eyed of you, this is a 59-card picture. Now, if anybody has gone and put in the comments, oh, you've only put 59 cards in the picture, that person has not watched the video. Because, yes, there's 59. I borrowed a Pokemon Center lady for the tournament. I didn't have one ready to hand when I made the video. There is a Pokemon Center lady here. Why? Because when Regirock would be KO'd, he takes 100 damage, you lose the Focus Sash. The thing is, you need to keep Regirock going. You need to keep him alive. What you don't want is a 10 HP Regirock sitting around. So as soon as you get hit for 100 and Focus Sash goes away, you need to heal him up. Pokemon Center Lady heals 60. This is very useful. We also have Cassius that allows you to shuffle a Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. Not something you'll want to do often, but it can avoid KOs, and it also allows you to reuse a Focus Sash. Let's say Regirock gets hit for 50. You only lose the Focus Sash if you would be one-hit KO'd. So now you can get the Regirock and the Focus Sash back into the deck. And a very unusual card, which does not see a lot of play, although a Canadian chap, Zachary Lesage I think it was, just posted a deck list with Olympia in, but I got there first, gosh darn it. And Olympia, if you're watching, hey Zach, or his brother Jay, who did enjoy the previous Regirock video, hey Jay, Olympia is basically a switch, but you heal 30. I.e., Regirock's in the active, and he's got a big retreat cost. He's been hit for 100 damage, you get him out the active, you immediately heal 30, and then you can go about trying to heal the rest of it. In terms of healing cards, we also play one Super Potion. Why do we play one Super Potion? Because it heals 60 damage. Now, the rule in question, and I have checked this with judges, so if it's wrong, I've been lied to, heal 60, then discard an energy. I.e., if there's no energy on Regirock, you heal 60, you go to discard an energy. Oh, there's no energy on Regirock. I've just healed 60. You'll notice that a Super Potion plus Pokémon Center Lady heals enough so that Regirock will be completely healed. Now, there is a very important card in this deck I haven't mentioned yet, and that is Scramble Switch. And this really makes the deck. Regirock's got a Focus Sash attached. He gets hit for 100. Focus Sash goes away. You've now got a 4 energy Regirock with 10 HP remaining. He's not going to last. Now, this is an expanded list because obviously in Standard, this is no longer legal for tournament play. You use Scramble Switch on a new Regirock. You switch the new Regirock into the active. You switch all 4 energy over to that Regirock. You put a Focus Sash on him. And now you've got a new Regirock. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. After your opponent finishes KOing your Wobbuffets, your plan is they never take a prize. And between Scramble Switch, Pokemon Center Lady, Cassius, Olympia, Super Potion, etc., you can make sure they don't take any prizes. The last really important card we haven't mentioned, the key card, is Puzzle of Time. Play 2. Now, if you play 1, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them. It's not great. Although, if you're drawing nothing, it can be a godsend. Although 99% of the time when you play this, you'll just keep them in the same order. I don't know why. It's just the way it works. But you play 2 at one time and you recover 2 cards from your discard. It's there for Scramble Switch. Scramble Switch is way too important. You've got to play multiple Scramble Switches throughout the game. You really want to be playing 3 Scramble Switches a game. One little tip here, if you have to play one Puzzle of Time on its own, then that's Puzzle of Time number 1. When you play Puzzle of Time number 2 and 3, you grab Scramble Switch and Puzzle of Time 1. And then when you draw into Puzzle of Time 4, you can use it with Puzzle of Time 1 and get Scramble Switch and any other card. It's not ideal, but it means you can still get 2 Scramble Switches back, even if you've had to use a Puzzle of Time early game. You cannot use 2 Puzzle of Time to recover one of the ones you've just put in the discard. That's not how it works. We play 4 Focus Sash. As I said before, it's a key card in the deck. I've explained it. We play 3 Tropical Beach, and the reason we play 3 Tropical Beach is because it's a slow deck and there are many, many turns you will leave a Wobbuffet or a Robo-Sub active and pass. Well, you might as well do something with your turn. Tropical Beach allows you to draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand, and then you end your turn. This turns a deck from a very cheap into a very expensive deck, but it is a really, really useful thing to do if you've got nothing. One change I would make to this deck, you need 4 Tropical Beach. Now, don't get me wrong, this deck works without Tropical Beach. In 2/3 of my games, I never used it once. But in the games when I did use Tropical Beach, it made a difference. I would cut a Steven for a Tropical Beach in a heartbeat. 1 Fighting Stadium. Now, you could use Magnetic Storm that gets rid of resistance. That's good against Baby Evil Town, who is not an EX but has a fighting resistance. Generally, ladies and gentlemen, although Joe disagrees with me, I prefer Fighting Stadium. 20 more to any EX. 1 Floatstone just to get Wobbuffet out the active, although it can be useful because when Regirock would be KO'd, Focus Sash goes away, you can then put a Floatstone on to retreat him. Obviously, you want to use Scramble Switch, but Floatstone in an emergency. You play 1 town map. There's too many cards here, like Strong Energy, like Focus Sash, and especially Scramble Switch, that you will need this game. You cannot afford to have cards prized, and in any deck that you cannot afford to have cards prized, you play 1 town map. 1 Escape Rope to get your Pokemon out of the active. Why Escape Rope not Switch? It's all because of Jolteon EX. When Jolteon EX attacks, he can then, the next turn, not be hurt by basic Pokemon. We only play basic Pokemon. And I came across this in the regional. My opponent attacked with Jolteon EX, so you play Escape Rope to put Jolteon to the bench. All effects on him are reset, i.e. he can be hit by basics. You then play a Lysander to drag him into the active and KO. It works beautifully. We play 4vs Seeker because we play supporters 4vs Seeker. Unless you're playing a Trainer Lock deck that locks you, you play 4vs Seeker in every deck. It's just the way it is. And then we play 1 Professor's Letter and 1 Ultra Ball, and these combine with Corinna for consistency. You can Corinna to search for your Professor's Letter, to grab 2 energy to help you get set up early. You can Corinna for an Ultra Ball to help grab a Wobbuffet or a Regirock to get your Pokemon out early. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Regirock deck. As I've said, it's a 59 card list, but we play a Pokemon Center Lady, and in terms of changes, to surmise, I don't think Steven's needed. You could switch Fighting Stadium for Magnetic Storm. I really want for Tropical Beach. Honestly, I would also love another Super Potion. I'm not entirely sure what you would cut. I would be tempted to cut the second Steven. I very rarely used it. Max Elixir, I don't think you can justify with 6 basic energy, and I can't find room for more basic energy. And the extra speed you gain from Max Elixir is not worth the damage you would lose if you just replace the strong energy with basic fighting. It is not something I would recommend. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got any questions about this deck, stick it down in the comments. If you thought that I had covered everything with Regirock enough with my explanation video and the game, stick it in the comments. Although the amount of people I've had asking for my list tells me that although I was not going to do this list for a while, I've had literally dozens of requests for my list. So I think it is, I think it's a video that people wanted, so it's a video that I've made, quite frankly. I hope you enjoyed looking at the list, and I hope it was worth doing the video. Like I said, rather than just giving you a list, I've talked about which cards were useful and changes I would make. Hopefully that's pretty good. So click that like button. I've spent some time making a video. I think it's pretty good. You've been watching up to now, so I'm assuming you must think it's at least not terrible. Click the like button. It'll make me happy. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and find a friend to subscribe on your behalf if you already have. And, of course, the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. We've got more games coming from Coventry League Challenge, I believe, as long as I'm uploading these in the order I think I am. And we've got more videos coming. I fancy doing a video about that new Volcanion card, so maybe we can have one of them next week. And it's been a while since we had a history lesson, so maybe another one of them. Either way, keep tuned to PTCG Radio for TCG, Pokken, and general Pokemon goodness. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.